All right, people, here we are. We're burning the midnight oil. We're burning the midnight oil, and the situation says that we're trying to give you an update. What we want to do tomorrow, we've got all the tin cut and the steel for the trailer base and inside the box. What we want to do is try to put the walking suspension on the frame tomorrow so we have a rolling chassis, so to speak. So what I've done in preparation for that, the frame part of it that goes with the chassis and the walking beams and the suspension, that's all been, you've seen where that was all etching primer, and that's all been primed and cleaned and prepped. And what I did tonight is I bought some black gloss Rust-Oleum, and I'm going to give you an overview on it and show you what we've got. So bear with me here. Let's see. So here's what we've got, people. I've just flipped this over and finished up the bottom. She's all decked in with 2 coats. Plus it's got the primer. A good coat of that. The self-etch primer, which I'll say one thing, that really bit in really good. And here's what I wanted to show you. What I did simply was I took some wire and I twisted it up, braided it to hang these tandems, these walking beam suspensions. I hung them up, got them 2 coats on there as well. And what I didn't do is I didn't get paint up on the bearing surfaces and where the seals go. I still need to take some emery to that tomorrow, just to clean it up, to make sure if there's any excuse me, if there's any small BBs from the weld, we want to make sure this surface is really nice because we don't want to tear the seals out. But there you go. That's the bottom half. And I'm going to show you the trailer, the actual box, the dump part. And here we go. Here's the situation. Now, I did use my heater to keep this garage warm. As you see, the tailgate is going to go on the back. It's going to be a complete rectangle. And what I've got here is I welded these tabs on. Okay? As you can see, a space in there. There's also holes here. And I'm going to show you how that works, people. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. So on the end of the actual tailgate itself, where you're going to have a piece of this rod sticking out. Okay, so you got a picture, it's going to be in the bottom, right? And then this will be secured with a pin, this pin here. It will go down in there. Now picture the bottom being secured and then the top coming in, right? So the tailgate will be able to tip this way. Okay, and it will be able to, if we leave the pin in the bottom, pull the pin, it will be able to dump. Okay, if you can see that action, people. So there's 2 ways this tailgate will work. It will be able to lay completely 90 degrees or 45. Is it 45? It's 90. It will be completely 90 degrees, so it'll be straight out. And then what I'm going to do is have another spot here where we have a piece of chain that comes down and hooks inside the tailgate. We'll make what's called a keyhole. And then you'll be able to drop the chain through there and it will hold the tailgate. Okay? And if you want to hold the tailgate up at an angle, you'll be able to just have to adjust the chain. And the same way with the top, when the bottom is opening, you'll be able to put the chain on there. So if you only want to dump 2 inches of soil at a time, you can tip the bed up and kind of go slowly with it and it will just pour out. And the reason I went with that design was years ago I had a Cam Superline dump trailer and they had that option. Now I know a lot of the dump trailers have the gate doors. They open up like this or fold down, whatever. But I really didn't want to build a gate door. I wanted to have a full tailgate so when it comes down, for extra pieces of lumber, if you've got them in here, or tree limbs or whatever, they'll be able to lay past the 6 foot, because this bed is 6 feet. If I cut them at 8 feet, that'll give me another foot of tailgate, plus it'll hang off there maybe a foot. But yeah, that's the deal, people. I wanted to I wanted to get that done so tomorrow I can get that rolling chassis together. We're gonna put the hubs on. We're gonna grease everything, and I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna do a video on that so you can see exactly how that is laid out. The walking beams need to be put in there, and I got to put a washer and a shim on either side so that the beams aren't laterally moving. I want them to be straight up and down, and all I want them to do is articulate on that pivot point. So we're going to get that together. The dump box, this is going to be a really good situation, so it's pretty simple. All we'll have to do, let me get this off here. We'll just put that in like that. This will come in, and as you can see, that will secure the tailgate. Okay, and I've got it all measured out, so it should be good. Now, these have like a zinc coating on them. They do rust, but we're going to go ahead and put a little fluid film underneath on the bottom too, to keep any kind of corrosion and stuff from attacking it. But this is the metal that I've got. This is 16 gauge. It's pretty thick. Let me pull this off here. I mean, I didn't want to make it super heavy, but you can see she's pretty thick, and it's sturdy. You can walk on it once it's all welded in. I'm going to weld it and stitch it all the way through. I also have some more steel pieces. These are 13 inches here, and they're going to get welded in. Of course, I've got, that was 8-foot sheets, and these are only 6, so I have the back end 2-foot piece, which is over there, right there. And I'm going to use that for the tailgate and for up front. We still got to build the headache bar for the top. I don't want that welded on. I want to be able to take it off, so we're going to bolt that on once it's built. But here, I want to show you. I had a friend of mine. He was looking at the plans, and he told me, "Hey, go ahead and put some other strips in there to kind of strengthen it up." And I'm glad I did. He was absolutely right. It definitely stiffened it up. Now, these are only 1x1s. Hold on a second. That's pretty heavy. These are only 1x1 square stocks, but these are the big beams are 2 feet on center. So this actually every foot now I have a support. And what I'm going to do is I have some smaller stuff that's only 1/2 inch square. I'm going to come in here and meet up with these ones right here, and come straight up and do the center one so that this panel here on the sides is sturdy, in the center it's supported. But yeah, the sheet of steel right there. Now here's the thing, people. That sheet of steel, I went to the local steel yard, and I was ready to get completely having to pay the piper on that. But what happened was, I asked the fella there, I said, "What gauge steel do you have?" He had all the gauges, but he said, "Yeah, I see in the system you were quoted $86 for the 16 gauge." And I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did the research. That's the thickness I want." And I have another piece of 1/8 inch behind my lathe that's a 6 feet by 4 feet. I could have used that, but that's really just overkill. You know, it's way too heavy. But he quoted me $86, and he says, "Well, we do have 18 gauge, which is actually thinner." And he says, "Well, that's real flat." And I'm thinking to myself, real flat? It must be like a machined smooth surface or something, because he said, "Oh yeah, the 16 gauge isn't, it's cold rolled. It's not really flattened out." And I'm like, okay, it doesn't need to, it's going to have wood and dirt and mulch and stuff, and it doesn't need to be milled, you know, to a machine surface. So the other stuff was like 142 for a thinner gauge. So I spent $86 with tax. I think it was around 90 bucks. $92, something like that. But I'm actually going to I'm going to go back and get one more sheet. And I will have the majority of that sheet left over. But with the sides, okay, these are 13 inches. And I thought I measured it out and they were 12, but I don't want to have an inch up top that's missing. So we're going to go ahead and use the 1/13-inch piece, which I have cut over here on the floor. Okay. And then I have another piece that's only 11 inches now, and we'll use it for something, but I'm going to go back and get one more sheet. And let me tell you something. when I cut that piece off, these were all cut with the plasma cutter. As you can see the paint, I put the paint pen on there. You see the paint on the edge? I used a T-square and laid it down and put clamps on it and just drug that plasma cutter down through there. And let me tell you something, unbelievably a beautiful cut. You must have a plasma cutter. That's a must-have, okay? But yeah, that's the update, people. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get this put together tomorrow. And we've got the I bought them tires locally. The guy had some golf carts, and that's the 4-inch on 4-on-4-inch hubs. So we're gonna go ahead. They're 18-inch tires, so we're gonna go ahead and put them on. And we're going to get this thing a rolling chassis. The only other thing we're going to have to build on the front of this tongue, I've got to determine where I want it. Okay, where it's doubled up here. It's probably going to be like right here. I'm going to add a hitch on the front, but what I want it to do is articulate, and I want it to swivel. So that if you're in the trail and your four-wheeler tips a little in a hole, the trailer hitch can swivel and not want to flip the trailer. So what we're going to do, and we're definitely going to keep you updated. And yeah, hey, that's the other thing too. When you're out here welding and stuff, and you're in your shop, make sure you're wearing, try to wear something heavy duty like a fire retardant clothing or something that's going to protect you. You don't want to use regular cotton where it can burn through. I actually had a pair of pants on, and I burned right through the leg of it. And I didn't get hurt or nothing, but it just reminded me I had these coveralls, and these are Fire FR2 rated. So we're going to start using these in the videos when we're welding, so that you see that we're trying to be safe on this channel. And make sure you wear your safety glasses and your gloves and all the PPE that you need to keep yourself safe. And then I'll tell you another thing. This mask over here, let me show you this mask. This mask is so comfortable. And as you can see, we're really starting to get some dirt on it. It's so comfortable, and it's just such an amazing little mask. It's light. It fits right underneath the welding hood. But I want to show you something. This is what you're breathing in, people, if you don't have a mask. All that dirt and soot that comes off those off the steel and off the grinder discs. So we've got to put that hat in the wash, and we've got to get that baby cleaned up. But you really want that hat because it keeps the top of your head from getting an ember. And I don't know if you can see, but I've got a lot of hair, and I don't want to catch that baby on fire. And I don't want to tell you, but one time I actually did get caught on fire one time. And if it hadn't have been for a good friend of mine, he was pulling up in the driveway at the time. And I was so preoccupied doing something. I think I was painting a hood, and it was in the middle of winter. And I had one of these stand-up propane heaters. And I had some sweats on. You know how you reach in your pocket and the pocket part comes out? I didn't see it. And I'm standing next to the heater trying to paint this hood. And my buddy pulls up and he yells out, "Hey, you're on fire." I thought I heard him say that, but I'm like, "What?" So I'm like, "What?" And he said, "Hey, you're on fire." And I looked down, my whole leg's on fire. Now, I had long johns underneath the sweats because it was cold out. And, I stopped, dropped, and rolled and took care of it. But, had he not came along, I might have suffered a major burn on my leg. But, you want to make sure you have FR2 clothing. You want to make sure you're not standing too close to the heaters. This is kind of why I went to this lay-down style propane, or excuse me, lay-down style kerosene heater. They're a little better. They have a thermostat on them. They turn on and off. But that's the other thing. If you're going to use that thermostat, make sure you're pointing that in a direction that says, "Hey, if you kick on by yourself, we don't want to have no problems." But yeah. So here's the Rust-Oleum. Let me show you. This is the Rust-Oleum that I'm using, gloss black. Okay, it says it stops rust. Well, we don't have any rust because we sanded everything, and we put a good self-etch primer on it. But I actually bought two. I bought two of them because I might need it. And right now, I'll be honest with you, some of this stuff. And here's the other thing I bought tonight at Home Depot. And let's get into this here. Hold on a second. I don't know who designs this stuff. Okay, must be Clean Strip. But whoever designed this type of system is really needs their head examined. you know. Now these have a plastic ring on them, which I always cut the plastic ring off because it fiddles around, it spins on there. I know it's a protective thing, but I don't have little children. So I cut them off because it's like you're in the middle of getting it off and you just have to spin it 50 times to get it off. So I removed that. But let me tell you something. Even with a funnel, okay, even with a funnel, filling up my spray bottle, because that's what I like to use to clean stuff off, even filling it up with the funnel, by the time you tip this thing and try to get it to go, it starts drizzling and running all down the tank. Even if you try to put the funnel directly under it, I mean, I could punch a hole in here, which would stop that. But then you've got an issue because acetone, you got to be careful. Acetone is very volatile. It's very, you don't want any vapors going in the air if you got any kind of open flames. But, yeah, there's a thing on, I have safety videos every year that we have to go through for the job I'm on. There's a guy they show in the video that he was, what he was doing was cutting a 55-gallon drum, okay, with a grinder. And what it had held in it was acetone. Well, what he did was he had rinsed it out real good and dumped it out and thought he had cleaned the tank completely out. But what happened was he went to start cutting the top of that lid, and the lid exploded with such a force that it took his head off. And this is an OSHA thing that's really in the books. You can look it up. But they determined there was just a teaspoon amount of acetone that was in the ring of the bottom of it that built up such a volatile explosion when that spark came through that it blew the lid right off and killed the guy. So, you know, that's something you want to think about when you're cutting through any kind of 55-gallon drums or propane tanks or anything like that. When you're making stuff and you have an empty cylinder, you want to really, really, really make sure it's vacated. I think I would... in my older age, I've been a little more patient than I was when I was younger. I think I would leave the lid right off of it for a week or so and let the air get to it and whatever. But because if you think about it, acetone will evaporate pretty quick. You know, maybe he put the water in there, but the water mixed with it, and who knows what happened. But obviously he got killed. But at the end of the day, it's not to say, hey, don't do nothing, because you can't do nothing in life or you won't do nothing. But it's to say, think about what's going on. Think about the situation, you know, and, you know, be safe as you can. But yeah, the way they designed that acetone lid and all the metal containers like that, I understand they put it in a metal container for a reason, but it really should have a spout or something off the top or something, because you try to dump that out and you're the first half of it you're drizzling down the side of the can, you know. But enough about that. We're going to get back to the trailer build. And we're burning the midnight oil, people. I don't know. I'm happy. You know, I'm happy as a jaybird in June. And the situation says it's coming along. Okay, it's coming along, and it's coming along pretty handy. So, all right, this is Bri. I've got to get on down the road to get this done now.